Hello everyone, today our topic is force. Force is a push or pull acting on an object. A horse pulling a cart and a bicycle moving when you push it pedals all are examples of force. We see some effects of force in our daily lives. Among them are force can change the direction of a moving object. Force do not only make an object move fast or slow, it can also change the direction of moving object. For example, when a basketball hits the ball to pass it onto the other player, it not only speedy up, slow down the ball but also change its direction. Push a car when you will see that the car moves in the same direction in which you are applied force. So we can say that force has a direction. Force can change the shape of an object. Force can change the shape of some objects by stretching, squeezing, binding, twisting and compressing. Here is the diagram of stretching, compressing, twisting, binding and squeezing. A change in shape is called deformation. The change used by applying force on an object may be temporary or permanently. Temporary elastic deformation. When an applied force is removed from an object and it gets back to its original shape is called temporary and elastic deformation. A sponge undergoes temporary elastic deformation when it is squeezed. When the applied force is removed, it returns to its original shape. When applied force is removed from an object, it does not get back to its original shape. It is called the permanent and inelastic deformation. A matter undergoes permanent inelastic deformation when it is squashed. This can change the motion of the object. When a body is moving as a result of applying force, it means it is in the motion. If the applied force is greater, the motion will be greater. The object moves faster, but if the applied force is smaller, the motion will be smaller and the object moves slower. In the given example, Ali changes its position during movement. So we can simply say that force changes the motion of Ali. Types of forces are classified as contact forces and non-contact forces. Contact forces are the forces operating between objects which are touching each other. For example, when you push a desk, you are touching the object. Frictional force is an example of contact force. Non-contact forces are the forces that act over the distance. They do not have to be touching. Gravitational forces is an example of non-contact forces. The contact forces we use to the term pushes or pull. However, for non-contact forces, it is better to talk about repulsion and attraction. Gravitational force. Have you ever thought why it happened that whenever we throw anything in the air, it falls down toward the earth? Forces are always in action and they are everywhere. There is an invisible force which attracts or pulls everything towards its center. This is why when you drop an object, it falls to the ground. The force is called gravity or gravitational pull. The force also prevents us from falling off the planet Earth. Similarly, when we throw any object upwards, it goes upward for a certain height and then comes back towards the Earth. Frictional forces. Have you ever observed that when you kick a ball, it stops after moving to a certain distance? What do you think is responsible for this? There must be a force that causes the ball to slow down and stop moving. The force that opposes motion is called friction and frictional forces. Frictional forces always act in pair and in opposite direction to the moving object. It means that if the ball If the ball is moving forward, the friction acts backwards on the ball. Smooth surfaces have less friction, whereas rough surfaces have more friction. We can measure the pull of gravity or the size of force by using the force meter. If we look at the force meter, there is a spring inside. The spring stretches when a weight is suspended with it. The end of spring has a marker which moves down the scale. The shadow how strongly the force is acting. The force is measured in Newton N. Advantage and disadvantage of friction. We see many advantages of friction in our day activities. Following are few examples of friction in our daily lives. The most important use of friction is walking. It is impossible to walk on the ground without friction because friction holds our shoes to the ground. If you have ever experienced walking on ice, you must have felt that it is hard to walk on it because it is slippery due to less friction. Friction helps us to hygienate the matchstick by rubbing the matchstick against a rough surface. Heat is generated and ultimately matchstick is hygiened. When a driver applies brakes, there is a friction force that pulls the rubber tire from sliding on the road surface. This friction avoids slipping of the vehicle. In winters, people rub their hands to get warm. This is possible only due to friction. Friction has many disadvantages as well. Some are given below. Tire can burst, shoes torn away. Tell the students that force meter is sometimes called Newton meter because the Newton meter measures force and the unit of force is Newton. Weight, a body relative mass or the quantity of matter is called weight.